Hey, welcome to the podcast that hasn't been named yet. Well, that's kind of a joke, but not really. Sometimes in life, you just got to sit down and do it. And this is one of those times for me. I had a conversation with myself. I don't care what excuse that you come up with. I'm getting this podcast out. And sometimes it's like that. So I've asked to know the perfect name for this podcast. And I honestly don't even know what I'm going to be talking about all the time. But it's good to be comfortable with the unknown sometimes. Gosh, if more people were comfortable with the unknown, there would be a lot of changes around this place, a lot of changes. So, although it can be uncomfortable, I'm just saying ready, shoot, aim. Hear that? Ready, shoot, aim. You just do it and then you aim, you know. So what I'm getting at is just get up and go. But anyhow, since this is the first podcast, I'll say I'm Siva. I'm currently, I almost said 2019. I'm 19 in the year 2023, and the world is shifting right now. We're in a transitional period, if you ask me. And I'm just kind of living through that, feeling through that. And my goal is just to be here and be vibrating high anywhere I'm at, anywhere I go. So this podcast is an extension of me sharing my own connection to the divine and just how I'm experiencing life on my end through whatever challenges that might come up. And that's really the probably the biggest part of this podcast is just sharing what I've gone through, how I get through tough times because everybody's got some tough times, but if you know how to get through it, it doesn't even phase you and they won't come up that often. So I just love learning about spiritual techniques, tips, practices, anything that makes it easier to just be. So that's where I'm at in my life right now. I'm currently working as a real estate agent, and I like my job right now. There's a lot to be said about liking the job, not liking the job. And that a lot goes into prosperity consciousness. A lot of people think that they have to work to survive and that work is bad and work is equals tired. But I think it was Fred Dotson that said, love it or leave it. So my thoughts on the job is love it or leave it. So it's interesting because I'm not sure quite how to do a podcast, so bear with me on these first ones. They will get better. I promise you they will get better. I started posting TikToks. Dang, maybe I don't even know how long. It's probably been a couple months since I started posting TikToks. And for the first 2 months, I didn't even post them. I just made a TikTok every single day for a couple months just so I would know that I can come up with the content and I can do something every single day, even on the days where I'm like, I have zero clue what to post right now. And at first, it was so frustrating. I would go and I would watch TikToks for an hour trying to find others ideas from other people, and I would get so irritated because I was stuck on the TikTok has the sound feature and you have to use a trending sound and da 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 da, everything that I thought was wrong. And when I started tuning into just how I'm feeling, what I'm thinking about, that's what I post about pretty much now. And yeah, my point at this was the ones at the beginning when I was just making TikToks every day. Oh my gosh, they were so terrible compared to the thing the ones I do now. But I also have like more tools. Like I'm coming to you live from this mic, and I knew this podcast was ready because I had lost the bottom piece of my mic. I put it somewhere so I wouldn't lose it, and I lost it. And I had a friend come over actually, and she said her boyfriend always loses things, and she can just theorize where the things are, and she'll find them. And I was like, okay, so theorize where my mic piece was. And when I tell you, she was spot on with where it was. I went and looked and found it. I was like, you gotta get on Upwork for this or something. I don't know, maybe she's tapped into like some sort of like third sight seeing, you know what I mean? I don't know. She's not really into all that stuff, but I think it's a possibility because she doesn't even live in this state. How would she know where my mic piece is at? So anyhow, I've upgraded a lot, and so I'm sure I'll upgrade a lot with this podcast as well. But I'm just going to be on here doing Siva and sharing what's going on. My biggest inspo for podcast, he's the podcast king in my world, is Thomas Miller. I love his podcast, The Subconscious Mind Mastery. And he has so many podcasts. He has the Fun Astrology one, the New Soul, Old Soul one. And so I'll probably talk to Thomas about it. And I'm like, why are these like this? He would know. But so yeah, I kind of just am gonna, I don't know, maybe I'll study up on him and see how he does it. That's one of my, I don't know. He's not really my mentor, but I think of him as my mentor. So Thomas is my podcast mentor. And I'm just going to be kind of trying to do something like that and make something. I love making things. That's another thing. I'm on this like path of trying to make everything that I'm using. First of all, because this, we know the stuff that they put in our food, in our lotions, in our soap is crazy. Why would you put chemicals in something we're supposed to put on our body? I have no clue. Or in our food, stuff that we're supposed to ingest. I have zero clue. If you live in another country, you would probably be shocked at the things that the US puts in our food, in our drinks, in our cosmetics. It's really pitiful. But that being said, we have options. So I like to make my own soap. I like to make things for the sake of also, you don't have to depend on others to do it. It's kind of crazy that we use so much and we have zero clue how to replicate it. Like everything we do, we don't know how to build a house. I don't know how to build a chair. Some people do know how to build chairs. I don't. I'm not one of those people. But, our clothing, unfortunately, I don't know how to even sew. I think I could figure it out, but I didn't learn all of that when I was little. I mean, we use so much, but if we didn't have the option, we would not know how to do some of this stuff. So I like kind of learning how to make my own stuff. Because also that prepper side of me is like, in case everything hits the fan, I'll have exactly what I need. So my goal for this is to just sit down and have a chat once a week, maybe on a specific topic, maybe about my week. Heck, even if somebody tuned in and wanted to talk about their week. I'd like to have guests. My dad actually came up to me the other day and said, "Hey, I've been thinking about starting a podcast," which is hilarious because I was having the same thoughts that same week. But joke's on him. I'm getting to the podcast first. No. I am a little competitive, but that's my dad, and I'll probably talk about my dad on here so much. He's like one of my biggest role models. And we kind of woke up at similar times to the point where like my dad has always been pretty, conscious, but I feel like we both woke up at around similar times. So like weird spiritual stuff that's like hard to talk about with other people, with normal people. So it's nice to have someone that just like gets it on that level. He was telling me this morning about uh, processing his dreams and changing his beliefs through his dreams. And I was like, Awesome. Often we have conversations. I'm like, if there was someone listening, we sound crazy right now. I'm sure most spiritual people have had that same thought. You know, you have a conversation with someone, and if there was a fly on the wall, like, we sound insane right now. But someone said, living in a world full of lies, the truth sound crazy. And ain't that the truth? So, my goal is to never be one of those very sensationalized people. So I will talk about how we know there's stuff in the water. We know the news is fake, etc., etc. But we don't need to go into some hysteria because there's some outside force oppressing us. We're not victims. We're not victims on this podcast. And I commit right now to not complaining on this podcast. I'll simply acknowledge something, but we're not going to complain. We're not going to sit around and talk about how, we're controlled by the, yeah, you get it. But this podcast is a space for growth, learning, and truth. So if you want to join in with me, let's go. Let's get it. All right. Signing out for this week. Peace and love at ya. Bye.